A Way Out had a novel idea: have a game that's meant to be played co-op, and not in an add-on type of way. I mean, if you're not playing with someone else, then you're not going to be playing the game. This is a risky move, but it's kind of what the founders of Hazelight, the developers, have been doing with their games. Take for example their previous game, Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, which was one of my favorite games because of how it used gameplay to reinforce narrative. The game's unique single-player co-op story meant that the player had to control one character with each hand, and took some serious adjusting to, but it really paid off in the end. I won't go further down that rabbit hole, but it's worth checking out if you have a few hours free. A Way Out's approach to storytelling was that it couldn't be played without two-person co-op. Now that's where I started to get interested, in part because the trailers showed characters breaking out of prison, so that got my Shawshank Redemption bits all worked up, but also that it had a lot of potential to be unique compared to other co-op stories. When it finally came out, of course I picked up a copy and played through it with my dad, this handsome guy. Before we started, we both picked our choice criminal for the playthrough based on what we knew from the character select screen. My dad picked Vincent and I picked Leo. It didn't take long before we were in the thick of it, planning our breakout from prison. We scaled walls, climbed through air ducts, crossed the open underbelly of a bridge a la Half-Life 2, all while learning more about the characters, like Leo's fear of heights. But for all the stunts that we pulled that placed our characters far above the comfortable height level, my character rarely brought up his fear outside of side comments. There's only one part in the game that I think showed a small glimpse of what could have been by adding characters' fears. It was while crossing a bridge after the prison escape. I noticed that when my dad was walking across a narrow ledge, his character looked at nearby police officers while mine was hyper-focused on the ground below, fearing the fall. This perspective difference was emphasized by the choice for the developers to adjust the camera to provide almost a vertigo type of effect. Now this effect was popularized by the movie Vertigo by Alfred Hitchcock, and has been used for years to show tension, discomfort, or a change in perspective. And I loved that it was one of those small details, but something that I crossed my fingers for from the start. I began to get excited for what they could do with this throughout the rest of the game, and well, nothing really came of it aside from the reuse of the same vertigo effect during a later level where both Vincent and Leo were chasing someone around a construction site. Leo's fear never impacted gameplay, but it should have. Just imagine if a fear of heights made the game harder for your character to make jumps or took longer to accomplish tasks while on high ledges. The developers have shown they're not afraid to do interesting things with controls, so what would happen if, in the same way that Leo was tensed up walking across a bridge, the player had to press down on the triggers or hold down face buttons like they were clenching their own fists like their character? Or during intense scenes with heights, the controller would pulse Leo's heartbeat, and if we looked down, it would beat faster and slower if we looked straight ahead. There was a lot of potential in this. And this takes me to my second gripe about the game, which requires a necessary "here be spoilers" note. Alright, 3, 2, 1. That second gripe is that the game starts off by lying to the player. Before we even get to the prison, the character choice screen is a lie. Because as those who have finished the game, we know that at the end of the third act, Leo and the player is made aware that Vincent is working for the police and has been working undercover the whole time with his own agenda. When I got to that point in the game, I wondered how much more impactful that moment would have been if I had learned that my dad knew the whole time, because he was in the end Vincent. But of course, I'm a dreamer. However, that idea stuck with me longer after I finished the game. It made me think of the old board games I used to play where everybody knew their own stories and were put against each other to survive or place blame on other characters and whatnot. The developers took a chance on this game to make it co-op only, which was a risky move, but how much riskier would it be to add an element of hidden past or character details be? The implementation could actually be pretty easy and would just need to ask if the characters are playing split screen for one player to leave the room as the other was shown a brief history of their character, then swap. Or being shown their character introduction before being thrown together when playing online. Even toss in a "do you want to watch your character video again" for those continuing the story after taking a break. Think of the aha moments that could have come from playing with one character that had a separate or conflicting motives than their partner. This would heavily affect the narrative and story experience of the players, but this element of different backgrounds could also be used to change the minute-to-minute gameplay too. There are many opportunities that this could impact gameplay, but I just want to point out two sections that could be used to change how Vincent plays. The first is during the prison break. Specifically, having mechanically more options or visual information available to Vincent when he and Leo are crossing the bridge due to his experience on the Force. If Vincent chooses to drive the car, he makes an effort to put on the police's uniform or at least his jacket to attempt to talk his way past the checkpoint as if he was a police officer, only to have the police notice Leo in the back seat and have a chase ensue, so as not to screw up the whole storyline. Where if Leo was the driver, it would end in a similar way to what already exists in the game. No effort is made and, well, you know how that ends. The second example is shooting, and I took some time to see if the guns handled differently between the characters. One being a thug and the other a trained police officer who we can only presume has years of weapons experience. The results were the guns handled the exact same. There are two ways that the developers could have made shooting different without giving away any twist. One is to give the characters two different guns without a choice, and have Vincent's gun more accurate or have less sway. Alternatively, the game could allow players to pick the guns like they already have in the game, but altering the gun's sway, accuracy, or even the movement speed while aiming down the sights. All of this could provide a change in gameplay that parallels the skills of the characters without being too overt. There are so many ways that this game could have been changed to embrace the nature of telling a co-op only story. The developers at Hazelight took a lot of chances on their game, and I'm thoroughly excited to see larger developers doing just that. They've shown that they're ready and willing to try something new and stretching what we expect from a game. And because of that, I'm looking forward to what they cook up next, and I hope they push things another step further next time. In the end, I found A Way Out to be extremely interesting and fun as a concept, but I feel like it could have been taken just a little bit further and it would have been something truly outstanding. What other ways do you think they could have mixed story and gameplay in A Way Out, or is there a game that you think does it very well? For those of you who are new to my channel, check out my Small Beginnings video to see what Pixel Report is all about and my 2-year plan. Also, feel free to check out my Patreon, where my first 20 supporters will be forever featured as my early supporters on each video. Thank you for watching. This has been Devin J, and this is Pixel Report. I'll see you next week.